Oh, that's good. Good evening. Welcome to the Township of Bedminster. This is the regularly scheduled meeting, the Township Committee meeting for September 6th, 2022. We have full attendance of Township Committee meeting here in person. Ms. Ray, may we please have the Open Public Meetings Act statement?
Yes, Mayor. Adequate notice of this meeting of the Township Committee was sent to the Courier News Somerville, Burnsville News Whippany, and to all subscribers, and posted at the Township Municipal Building on January 6, 2022.
Great, thank you. Please join me standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So we do have a couple special guests here tonight. I'll introduce only one of them, which is Sergeant Frank Bernardo, who is serving as the Bedminster Police Department officer in charge. This is until a new police chief can be appointed. Welcome, Sergeant Bernardo, to our meeting. Thank you. A couple follow-up items that I want to mention, and this is something that I forgot to mention earlier in the summer. As certainly everyone Township Committee recalls, when we did the rezoning for the KRE project on Burnt Mills Road, part of that zoning included improvements to the intersection at 202, 206, Burnt Mills and Washington Valley. The application was bouncing, the application to DOT was bouncing around between the township and the county. And then eventually after we got that resolved, the application was made to DOT, and back in July, DOT actually approved the permit to proceed with the intersection improvements. So I do have some follow-up emails to our traffic engineer to see what the next steps are. And then, John, eventually I assume that we'll need a developer's agreement with KRE.
We will, as I said to Paul Ferrero, always on my email chain, we typically do that after resolution.
Okay, so this certainly will be a component of that. So all these improvements
Yes,
as conditioned. Okay, great. So I just want to put that on the, well, we don't have to put it on our schedule for new business or old business, but certainly just want to let everyone know that DOT has approved all those improvements that we discussed and our engineer put together. So moving ahead, public comments. This is the opportunity during tonight's meeting for comments by the public. The dais is available, the microphone at the dais, at the lectern is available for any member of the public who is participating in person. Otherwise, if you are participating via Zoom, take your cursor, scroll down to the bottom, click on participants, click on raise hand, and Ms. Ray will put you into queue for public comment.
I'm not seeing any comments, Mayor.
Not seeing any comments. Let's move on. We have two sets of minutes to approve. The August 15 regularly scheduled Township Committee meeting, and the closed session minutes also of August 15. Comments or questions regarding the minutes that have not otherwise been provided to Ms. Ray? Seeing none, take a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, permits and raffles. Let's see, let's go through the first three. First is an off-premise 50/50 raffle to benefit Bedminster Township School PTO on April 28, 2023 at the Trump National Golf Club, 900 Limington Road, Bedminster. April 28th, and I presume that is Spring Fling. Next is a social affair permit to benefit Raritan Headwaters. This is Shed Fest on October 2nd, 2022, from 1 p.m. to 6 p.m. at Fairview Farms, 2021 Larger Cross Road, Bedminster. And next is a social fair permit for Bedminster Township Fall Fest on Saturday, October 22, 2022, from 12 noon to 5 p.m. at River Road Park, 3055 River Road, Bedminster. Any questions or comments regarding those three? Seeing none, take a motion to approve.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
And then the next special use permit is for Old Farm Orchards doing business as Burnt Mill Cider for live musical performances for a period of 1 year, Wednesdays through Fridays from 4 to 9 p.m., Saturdays 12 noon to 9 p.m., and Sundays, holidays from 12 noon to 6 p.m. at 3540 Route 206 Bedminster. And we have a representative from the applicant with us. Hello, if we can get you up to a microphone. And your name and your position with Burnt Mill Cider.
I am the managing partner.
So John Coates. Okay, John, so this is an update of the prior special use permit we gave for musical performances?
Correct. Can you hear me on the microphone? Yep.
Yes. All right, so can you just walk us through the application and what's involved?
We've, the application really is to renew the existing, well, now expired permit. The thinking is we've had live musical performances on Thursday nights every week since the end of October of last year. In addition, from time to time, we have fundraising events for charities and other events where we would like to have live performances. These tend to be outside with amplified music, and you know, we've tried different configurations where it's as acceptable as possible to the neighbors.
So I think we've heard from, well, I guess it was one neighbor,
One neighbor,
but it was twice.
I know it was late last year in November.
Yeah. And that was a neighbor who is on the other side of 206 up on the hill. And I'm trying to recall if we can put that into context with, I'm not sure if it was a reconfiguration of how the music setup was laid out.
Yeah, so it was news to us that the music could travel over 206 and affect a resident, say, a half a mile away. When we learned of that, the next time we had a performance, we actually had the band facing the other way with sound pointing away. The speakers were pointing away from 206 towards the woods. I think that's helped. I mean, we have had multiple complaints from the same neighbor. If I could find out the neighbor's address, I'd go over there with you know, a care package and try to explain what we're doing. And so maybe that would help. They would understand and expect that, you know, these events could occur. And if they understood what we're, you know, these things serve a purpose too. They're usually during charity events. So there are hundreds of people at these events that are, you know, there to benefit some particular local charity. And I think if the neighbor understood that, maybe they'd have a little more patience and understanding.
So you've been receiving complaints as well, or?
No,
not since.
They've never called us.
Okay.
And we'd be happy, if we're aware of it, then we'd be happy to adjust. We've adjusted every time someone is called. We've had representatives from the police force come as well. And every time that happens, we react to it. We don't want to be a nuisance to the neighbors. We never have been. Because I've said this before, but we're in this, we view it as a marathon. It's not a sprint for us. So we're trying to, we're trying to do the right thing over a long period of time. So we'll incorporate those comments and react accordingly and in a responsible way. But nevertheless, we still want to have permission to have the live musical performance.
Is the, just to clarify, is you made reference to the charity events, but the musical performances are sometimes for charity events and sometimes just for musical performances.
Yeah, so there's.
It's not, in other words, it's not exclusively during charitable
Yeah,
events.
there is a difference though. The ones where it's not for a big, let's say, charity fundraiser, those are the Thursday performances, and that's during the winter, they're inside. During the nicer weather, they're outside, but it's sort of a lowly amplified or not amplified, unplugged performance. And not once has the neighbor called to complain about that. It's when we have these larger charity events where, and that's the only time where we've had, amplified bands that have come. And that's where we've had the neighbors have had issues with that.
And so, but the only examples that you're aware of is when they called the town rather than contacting you directly.
As far as we know, I've never spoken to anybody. And as far as I know, they've never tried to contact us. And that's why I'd like to open up a line of communication. That's a separate issue. We'll figure out some way to address that. Maybe we'll just go to every house along that road and spread the same message, so that at least they're aware that we're planning to shut down, early enough before it's not something that goes all night. We're aware of the town ordinances. We're not trying to violate those. We're just, at the same time, we want to have these events.
Great.
They serve a purpose.
And just for everyone's recollection, the street where the resident was complaining is on Union Grove. So you would go uphill on Pottersville, make that right, and it's sort of, I guess, roughly parallel 206. But as Mr. Coates said, probably about a half mile from the Burnt Mills cidery. What I'd like to do, I'd like to just get some time to ask the police, Sergeant Bernard, if you could check the records to see if there's been any complaints to Bedminster PD. And Robin, if you can also check any records, and what I would like to do, this is what I propose, subject to TC agreeing, would be to table this for tonight. Let's hear back from Sergeant Bernardo and from Administrator Ray, and let's tee this up for some little bit of report back on that research for our next meeting. Does that schedule work for you, Robin?
I do have one issue then to bring up.
Okay.
All of that is fine. We do have a charity event this coming Friday, Heartworks event, and I believe they plan to have a band. So is there a way, it seems like late notice now, but I didn't think it was going to be such late notice when I submitted the application.
You could authorize that event and any other event until such time that you make a formal decision.
Okay. And John, this is for John Blordo. How long, I mean, this, before I get to John Blordo, John Coates, how long was the first special use permit that we granted?
It was for 1 year, expiring July 31st.
Okay. So just how often can we renew?
You can extend it. I seem to recall at the last time that you gave the year extension, you talked, my recollection was correct, about maybe a formal submission to the planning.
Right. That's what I was wondering.
Some guidelines. So you certainly can extend it another year, but under our ordinance, you could attach any conditions you wish, or you could extend it for a shorter period of time.
Okay. So it's not that we're allowed 1 year of a special use permit, and then you have to go to the land use board for a form to formalize it in a permanent scenario. So we can keep
Within
doing
your
this.
discretion.
Okay. So first off, how does the township committee feel about deferring the year permit until we hear back from the police and staff? And then for this weekend, so this is for Heartworks. So Heartworks, and they'll have some band there on Friday night.
Yeah, and we'd like to continue the Thursday night performances, which just haven't been an issue.
Okay.
But again, check on that. I guess that could be contingent upon learning otherwise.
Okay. Because I think one of the things we'd like to do is, just get a sense maybe of, that everything is being, whether it's amplified or not, that's being pushed towards the woods as opposed to 206. I think as those of us who live near the intersection of 206 and Leamington know that the wind can sometimes carry noise in certain directions.
It might not be a bad idea anyway, since we like the idea of having things happen outside, started with COVID, but residents like to be outside. So maybe we should put some rules in, and then we don't have to do this kind of thing every time.
Like
And
certain amplification or whatever.
Hours of the day or number of times a week, whatever those rules are, just a little bit more of a structure.
Okay. So one is for the year-long permit, we'll put that off till we get some additional information. And then presently before us would be the authorization until, when's our next meeting? So
19.
19th.
19.
19th. And then just give an extension of the existing permit till the 19th. So that would cover you certainly through this weekend and for the next 2 weeks.
Makes sense.
Okay, motion for that for that special use permit extending through September 19th.
Second.
All in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Thank you.
And John, Burnt Mill Cider is just a gem of Somerset County. And thank you so much for, by the way, I saw that you were referenced, and you may not even know it, in NJ Biz. They're talking about how tourism in New Jersey is now being pushed beyond the shore, and they're talking about Somerset County's initiatives. And when they said is sort of cross-marketing between some of the venues in Somerset County, and Burnt Mill Cider was mentioned, saying you can go to Burnt Mills and then get tagged or geotagged and say, hey, if you like being outside, you might want to go to, they mentioned one of the nearby preserves. So
That's great. That's great to hear.
So just read that this morning. So
Thank you.
thank you, and thank you for being a great contributor to everything in Bedminster. Thank you, John.
Thanks, John.
Thanks, John. Thank you.
Thank you.
See you, John.
Okay, we'll go through monthly report discussions by subcommittee. Chair, we'll start with Committeeman Stevenson.
Thank you, Mayor. We had a special meeting of the Historic Preservation Commission last week. The applicant that we formed the meeting for didn't show, so we had to table that for the next month. I did share with the committee the proposed ordinance, and I raised them some of the concerns that we had raised about, is this going to apply throughout the district, and is it intended to be residential as well as commercial? So they're all, looking at those issues, thinking about it, and when we meet this month, I'll report back to you. And I also indicated that they should probably write a letter of recommendation or a letter of support, one way or the other. But that's in process, as I had indicated last time. DPW, Ronnie's here, could certainly augment anything, but it's the same old, right? That we're still continuing to work on the roads, cut back the brush. Any issues obviously come up, let me know. I'll be meeting with Rodney this week to go through some things, but it seems to be over there. So, got anything else for subcommittee reports, got a couple of reports for later, but we'll hit those later.
Okay, thank you. Committeeman Hickey.
Thank you, Mayor. Board of Health will be meeting next Thursday, so I'll report out after that meeting. There was no meeting in August. That's all I have right now.
Okay, thank you. Committeewoman Moreski.
Thank you, Mayor. For the Environmental Commission, that night was held on August 19th at River Road Park. Miss Leah Wells from Conserve Wildlife Foundation gave us an updated slide presentation on the status of our bat population, along with information on how important bats are to our environment, especially being an agricultural area here. Leah had her acoustic detector turned on while she was speaking, so the attendees could hear the bats that were flying overhead. We had a couple little visitors, so it was fun for the kids. It was a good turnout, like 20-25 people came, many of the attendees asking some good questions. And I would recommend that the EC continue hosting these programs because we get new attendees every time we hold it. And a quick note for tomorrow's EC meeting, Chris Borak from Black Lagoon was originally scheduled to discuss the results of the Bedminster Pond Treatment Program, but unfortunately he had a scheduling conflict and he cannot attend. He's going to reschedule to attend the October meeting. I think though the next meeting is planned for October 5th, and I believe EC wants to bump it to the 19th since it is the holiday, Yom Kippur. So on the 19th, if residents have questions about the pond or anybody from DPW, you're invited to attend. And that's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Committeewoman Fernandez.
Thank you, Mayor. Just having a few rec updates. So the rec fall programs done, the wonderful basketball programs and soccer clinics. But this year, new to Bedminster is a program called Girls in Gear, just similar to Girls on the Run, but it's a bike riding program
cool.
for girls. Yeah, and third through eighth grade, so that's really cool. Our Fall Fest is all set for October 22nd, but we still need sponsors and exhibitors. So anyone who wants to be a sponsor or exhibitor should contact Neil Mastrobono at extension 405. And lastly, I spoke with Danielle Fridella from the Bedminster PTO, and they are not hosting a trunk or treat. So the Bedminster Rec will be hosting the trunk or treat. So that will be the following weekend, October 29th. So it'll be Fall Fest, 22nd, then October 29th is a Halloween trunk or treat. So lots of upcoming community events, which is great.
And will they do that at the farmer's market again, like they did, which was just a blowout
So there were
success?
so many people there.
That was just
Yeah, that was a lot of people.
tremendous success. So that worked out really well. Great, thank you. I honestly don't have much to report on. There was no land use board meeting. I didn't have a library board meeting in August. Farmers market just chugging right along. Labor Day weekend, we weren't really sure what attendance we were going to get. Ended up with, I believe, 979.
Has
900,
dipped below 800 any weekend yet?
maybe that rainy day.
One rainy day, maybe,
Yeah.
give it 700.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah, but
Only 700.
only seven,
Yes.
right,
9 to 1,000 is the new norm.
yeah. Last year, anything over 800 was considered busy, and now it's, right around 1,000 is.
Awesome.
And, the park is doing, well, the layout with the park is doing great. Thank you to Rodney and everyone at DPW. And it's always good to see police come through there. So always good to see, especially, I'll say especially, but Brian Smith comes by, always good with a smile, send him out there, introducing himself to folks in the community. I think it's also a great opportunity to introduce the police to Bedminster folks. So one thing I do want to touch on is with the county, and once again, thank you to Rodney and Ms. Ray for putting together the grant application. This is a grant application that was using American Recovery Plan funds. Those funds were being administered through the county, and Robin put together a grant application with Rodney's help for the reconstruction, because it's not just a rehab, it's essentially a redo of our sewer pump station right here at Miller Lane. And the comments we heard from the folks from the county, including Walter Lane from planning, Matt Loper from engineering, Colleen Marr, the county administrator, was that it was one of the best applications they had seen. It was a no-brainer. We did host one meeting with Colleen Marr and Matt Loper here. It was actually remote, and walked them through how the system was originally constructed as a treatment plant. And then when EDC was created with the Hills, this became a pump station. And a pump station serving not just Bedminster Village, but also AT&T, the borough of Far Hills, and the borough of Peapack and Gladstone. So this pump station redo benefits the residents of not only Bedminster, but also Peapack, Gladstone, and Far Hills. And we all had the pleasure, well, those, good chunk of us had the pleasure of going down to Somerset County for the presentation of the grant. And Robin, you've got a check for
I have 1.47 million.
1.47 million for the, I don't want to call it, Rodney, what would you call it? Upgrades, or what are we calling it? It is a rehab. Oh, I thought we were just building from all, starting new again. All right. We use the term rehab. I like the just redoing it, but so thank you again to everyone for the Somerset County Commissioners for approving the grant. And once again, thank you to Ms. Ray and Rodney for putting that grant application together. When are we breaking ground? Next
I
week?
like that.
Tomorrow?
At the same time, community garden.
Yeah.
Got it. All right. So that's what my report, land use board, there is a meeting this week. And we are not, Colin and I are not eligible to participate since it is a variance application. And on the other land use board matters, we are just continuing with plan endorsement for the New Jersey State Master Plan and looking at rezoning opportunities for the AT&T campus. Ms. Ray, may we please have the administrator's report?
Sure, I'm going to be brief. We had, we'll be holding or hosting, I should say, on Saturday, September 17th at the Department of Public Works from 10 to 2 p.m. a drive-through COVID clinic, which is sponsored by Somerset County Health Department. We're also working on a flu clinic the last 2 weeks in October at the Firehouse here on Miller Lane. More details to follow on that. On the 23rd of September, I will be attending a film ready workshop. There's a state film commission that presented at the League of Municipalities. I attended that. I thought it was very interesting since we've had a lot of movies here in the past, and what we can get out of it and what we can give, and just put some structure to it so that we have a plan in place going forward. So there's a clinic that's coming up on the 23rd at Raritan Valley with the Somerset County Film Commission and the New Jersey Film Commission. So gives us some structured ordinances and resolutions and how to fix fees and tax incentives. So I'll report more on that.
Does that cover television as well?
Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah.
when will the winner of The Bachelorette be announced? Will
Well, we
Bedminster be in the news again?
Well, we just had the Housewives, Real Housewives of New Jersey on Main Street a couple weeks back.
Oh, really?
Remember I set that up?
Yep.
It was,
To the wrong place.
yes.
Mhm.
Oh, that's right, that's right, that's right.
So it just can only help us.
So if we see a film crew 2 doors down or 2 doors up from Doug's house, we'll know that might be a clue as to The Bachelorette.
I heard it's been leaked.
Bachelorette. At the farmer's market, I was being told, oh, I know who won. I've by like 20 different people. So who knows? Maybe someone does know.
That concludes my report for tonight.
Thank you. Introduction of ordinances, we have none. Public hearing of ordinances, we have none. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 items on the consent agenda. Remember the Township Committee looking to pull any item off the consent agenda. No, if not, I'll take a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call vote, please. Mr. Stevenson,
Aye.
Mr. Hickey,
Aye.
Ms. Moreski,
Aye.
Ms. Hernandez.
Aye.
And Mayor Jacobs.
Aye.
Thank you.
Now, before we proceed with the resolutions, Andrew, this is your big moment to shine. Take us through the audit.
All right. Good evening, everyone. We're just going to spend a couple of minutes going.
Maybe, I'm sorry, if you could just, for the record, introduce your name and the auditing firm that you're with.
Sure. My name is Andrew Kaczynski. I'm the township's auditor from Nisavacia LLP. I'm just going to spend a couple of quick minutes here going through the results of the audit for 2021. We're going to start with the current fund. First of all, your tax collection rate for 2021 was 99.13%, which is excellent. Kudos to Adriana on that. Wonderful job. Moving on to revenues, there was $39,321,121 of revenues this year. Included in that was fund balance utilized of $1,663,000, and we had expenditures of $37,130,563. Current fund balance increased from 2020 being $7,742,159 by $527,558 to be $8,269,717 as of December 31st, 2021. Touching really quickly on your debt, the township has continued to aggressively pay down their debt, paid off another $89,625 in your bands. The last payment on those bands is already in the budget for 2022. I think it gets paid off in November, I believe, is the date that they mature finally. Also, we paid off $13,457 of Green Acres loans. The balance as of 12/31 for the Green Acres loans was $94,314, and those will finally mature in 2028. As for your sewer utility fund, the operating, you had revenues of $712,989, which included $175,000 of fund balance, offset by expenditures of $567,727. The beginning balance in your sewer utility operating fund was $2,082,668. That balance decreased by $29,738, and your ending balance as of December 31st, 2021 was $2,052,929. In your audit report, you guys all received the big books, correct? There were two things, that's the one, yeah. If you went towards the back of that, there's comments and recommendations section in there. Included in that, the management suggestions. Everyone's fine. Everyone's doing a great job. No problems here. These are just some things that we like to call to the attention of the governing body to. There's two items in there this year. One of them is GASB statement number 87, which is about leases. Basically, we're changing the way that we account for leases. We're just letting you know in here that there's going to be some work that we're going to have to do, some work that Debbie's probably going to have to do with some of this. It's not really going to have a financial impact on the township in the end, but we're just making you aware of it. This way, it's not a big surprise next year when it pops up, you know. And the other thing was COVID-19 federal funding. We're just trying to give you the heads up that, you know, double check, cross your T's, dot your I's, make sure everything's in its place, make sure we have our files everywhere, because at some point they're going to come back and potentially be looking to, you know, audit and double check some of these numbers. So it's just putting it out there. Again, nothing that we've seen. Everything's been on the up and up when it comes to utilization of the federal funding for COVID-19. But we're just putting it out there that, you know, we don't like you to be shocked at any point. We want to make sure that we give you as much of a fair heads up warning on these things before anything ever happens with them. That's really the point of these management suggestions. And the last item that I really wanted to cover was your audit recommendations. You only had one, same one that we've had for years.
Right.
Segregation of duties. You know, the same old song and dance, budgetary constraints. There's really nothing that we can do about it. And we're just kind of leaving it there. It's not a big deal, you know, you guys have safeguards in place and everything.
So that's the same one we hear that, I guess I've been on here the longest and I've heard it from my first time up here. And once again, that's consistent with other towns, our size, with our structure. It's just, unless you hire a new person, it's impossible to
Correct.
segregate
You
those.
have to have one individual who
Right.
exclusively collects cash, and that's all that they do.
Right.
We call it a central cashier.
Okay.
And not for anything, but it is, it's a burden on your taxpayers, on your residents, because it basically adds extra steps to everything. So it's an inconvenience in the end, but yeah, so I mean.
And our obligation is to take note that that recommendation has been made
Correct.
and said, therefore, we're aware of it and we're proceeding knowing that recommendation has been made.
Correct. It's going to be the same response in your corrective action plan that it's been.
Okay.
And of course, big thank you to your entire staff here. Everyone does a really great job. You know, Debbie, Robin, right on down. Everyone is very helpful and they make it very easy for us to come in and do our job. When we request things, we get done. We don't have to wait. We're not pushed aside. So a big thank you to them, because without that.
What towns push you aside?
I can't say that.
Just between us and the microphone, that's all.
No, it's not. It's not so much the put aside, but it's the immediacy. There's a sense of urgency when we request them. And it's really, it makes our job a lot easier.
Thank you. And also thank you and Bud for bearing with us during the budget sessions, because when you talked about COVID relief fund and possibility of the federal government coming back and looking at, geez, where did Bedminster put that money? I think we kicked that issue around for about a couple hours at one of our budget sessions. Committeeman Stevenson is nodding aggressively because we all had questions. I know Doug had a lot of them and very pointed questions to you and Bud. And so I hope your guidance was right on that. If we do get audited.
You're
No.
in good hands.
Thank you, Andrew. Any further questions for Andrew on the audit or the conclusions, recommendations? Seeing none. Okay. Let's go to first resolution tonight, which is resolution number 2022-095. And this resolution states that the governing body, the Township of Bedminster, has reviewed at a minimum the general comments and recommendations of the registered municipal accountant on the annual audit for 2021. Questions or comments regarding that resolution? May we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Call vote, please. Stevenson?
Aye.
Mr. Hickey?
Aye.
Ms. Boraski?
Aye.
Ms. Fernandez?
Aye.
And Mayor Jacobs?
Aye.
Thank you.
And then the next resolution approves the corrective action plan submitted by the Chief Financial Officer for 2021. Any questions or comments regarding that resolution? Seeing none, I'll take a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call vote again, please. Mr. Stevenson?
Aye.
Mr. Hickey?
Aye.
Ms. Boraski?
Aye.
Ms. Fernandez?
Aye.
And Mayor Jacobs?
Aye. Okay, that covers the audit-related resolution. So Andrew, you are free to go, or you're welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting. Okay, good for you. Thank you, and thank you, Bud.
Thank you.
Good night.
Andrew.
And Sergeant Bernardo, there will be a quiz on the Bedminster audit at the end of the meeting. So hopefully you're taking good notes of all those numbers that Andrew put out there. Resolution number 2022-099 authorizes the insertion of a special item of revenue and insertion of an item of appropriation for an equal amount in the 2022 budget to include funding for the 2022 Somerset County Recreation Grant for the community garden in the amount of $300,000. Ms. Ray, this is to formalize within our budget the $300,000 grant awarded to Bedminster for the community garden, the grant coming from Somerset County.
That's correct.
Okay.
Raise the money into the budget.
Any questions or comments regarding that resolution? Seeing none, take a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second?
Thank you. There was a little hesitation there, you know, on accepting $300,000.
No.
Roll call vote, please. Mr. Stevenson.
Aye.
Mr. Hickey.
Aye.
Ms. Moreski.
Aye.
Ms. Fernandez.
Aye.
And Mayor Jacob.
Aye.
Thank you.
He just doesn't want one more line in the budget to have to look at.
Next resolution number 2022-100 authorizes the insertion of a special item of revenue and insertion of an item of appropriation for an equal amount in the 2022 budget to include funding for the 2022 Somerset County Youth Services Grant supporting the stigma-free initiative. Ms. Ray, what is the, do we have the final amount of that revenue?
We do. It's $2,500 from Somerset County municipal lines for the stigma-free initiative implemented by Committeewoman Fernandez.
Now, is that money that we've already spent, or is that money that's for the additional stigma-free initiatives?
So we've spent some of it, and we're gonna move forward and be ordering some things for Fall Fest and for farmers market, like giveaways and things like that.
Great. Any other questions or comments regarding that resolution? Seeing none, take a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second?
Roll call vote, please. Mr. Stevenson.
Aye.
Mr. Hickey.
Aye.
Ms. Moreski.
Aye.
Ms. Fernandez.
Aye.
And Mayor Jacobs.
Aye, and thank you again to Committeewoman Fernandez for championing the stigma-free initiative. Next resolution is resolution number 2022-104. This resolution authorizes the appointment of a full-time violations clerk in the shared municipal court. Ms. Ray, just will walk us through the selection process to get the violations clerk?
Sure. The candidate had interviewed originally with other candidates during our Human Resources Committee with a representative also from the county vicinage, and was determined to be a great candidate for part-time, but the opportunity arose and we are now would like to hire her as a full-time violations clerk.
Okay, any further questions or comments regarding that resolution? Seeing none, take a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second?
Roll call vote, please. Mr. Stevenson.
Aye.
Mr. Hickey.
Aye.
Ms. Moreski.
Aye.
Ms. Fernandez.
Aye.
And Mayor Jacobs.
Aye. And the final resolution for tonight is resolution number 2022-105. This resolution authorizes the award of a contract to purchase playground equipment for the Township of Bedminster Recreation Department through the State of New Jersey Cooperative Purchasing Program pursuant to local public contracts law. Ms. Ray,
Sure.
so we've done some upgrades at Burnt Mills. Is this part of that, or is this
No, so
specifically for Miller Lane?
this actually replaces the playground that we took out at Buckman Schoolhouse Park that was old and in tough shape. So this is a brand new piece of equipment that is going to Buckman Schoolhouse Park,
So this is specifically for Pluckman Schoolhouse Park.
specifically Buckman.
Okay.
correct?
And for Miller Lane, that's,
Still working on. a way
Still
for
working.
home parks,
okay,
But it's looking really good.
okay. Questions or comments regarding this resolution?
And this is done out of open space?
Correct.
No other questions or comments? Take a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second?
Roll call vote, please. Mr. Stevenson.
Aye.
Mr. Hickey.
Aye.
Ms. Moreski.
Aye.
Ms. Fernandez.
Aye.
And Mayor Jacobs.
Aye.
Thank you.
And I'll take a motion to approve the bill list pending review of individual invoices.
So moved?
Second.
Roll call vote again, please. Mr. Stevenson.
Aye.
Mr. Hickey?
Aye.
Ms. Marevsky?
Aye.
Ms. Fernandez?
Aye.
And Mayor Jacobs?
Aye.
Thank you.
Anyone have matters of new business to discuss? Seeing none, let's run to old business. I'm going to skip COVID emergency. We've got the COVID clinic that Ms. Ray mentioned earlier. DOT road improvements. Sergeant Bernard, just to give you an update, this item refers to the DOT improvements at the jug handle at River Road. And we also then, after we saw the success we had there, said, let's also push these similar improvements down the Hills Drive, which DOT could do most of them, but not all of them. But that does account for the painting on the roads straight. Don't make a left, straight. So I think we've pushed this issue as far as we can. We did follow up with DOT to see if there would be any further efforts at either jug handle. I think the answer is no, and I think we're going to take River Road and Hills Drive off, but I'm going to replace it with the request to extend the guardrails at the two sections of Route 206.
That would be great.
So I have followed up with DOT, with Meredith Hammond, who's our government liaison. She was going to mention it to the road department over at DOT. I sent another email to her now that it's past Labor Day, and I will hopefully be able to report at our next meeting. And from the discussions we had with Chief Rock, and just from our own observations, that this last year, those parking areas were inundated, and we all saw children running around right next to the highway. It's just not a safe environment for that amount of parking, and cars were parking not just in that area, but they were overflowing. We have plenty of parking at River Road. It's just one bridge over. We have the pedestrian bridge that brings you back to that same place. It's really probably from a walking distance, probably no further from the river for the fishermen and others that want to take advantage of the water resources there. So I will we'll put this on old business, and if there's updates from DOT, I'll report. And if there's anything that we need from Bedminster Police to follow up as well, we can get those updates there.
Mayor, just one comment from the EC about those things. I think DPW will also need access, as well as the treatment guys for the pond, to get the trucks in. So at the second ingress, egress, whatever that is, they'll still need to get in there. So we can't put the.
Okay, we'll coordinate when eventually we get DOT engaged. We'll bring Rodney in and have some coordination there, or if a gate or something else that can be installed to facilitate Black Lagoon or other treatment services, and certainly for DPW.
Excellent.
Okay. Utilities. Committeeman Hickey.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a couple of quick updates. First off, Altice, all associations in the Hills, as well as Pluckman Park, have now been contacted regarding the opportunity for the fiber upgrade. Most have responded, a few have not. We will stay on top of those who have yet to respond. One of the concerns that was shared by many of the homeowners associations that's been holding up contract approval is the removal of retired equipment. Altice agreed last Friday they would remove any such equipment, which I think will pave the way for several associations to sign their agreements this week, because a lot of meetings are coming back online now. A lot of HOAs are starting after their summer break, so this is one of the things they're considering.
So what do you mean by retired equipment?
So
for those of us who don't know.
Sorry, telecom speak. So a lot of times you will have equipment in the field that is no longer being used. And telecom carriers and cable providers have been known in the past to abandon that equipment, just leave it in place and not touch it.
So that's those green things that when I'm walking the dog, they're the stanchions or the little boxes
The little
that
things that
that
look
they
like dog
think-
houses.
the things fall off them and there's some wires around, but
So
they're
those,
not connected to anything anymore.
yes, right
They
now.
say AT&T on them.
Well, right, for all TSIS purposes, there are two. There's one that is about a foot high, maybe a foot and a half high, kind of narrow. There's another one that looks like a doghouse, kind of, 12 by 24 by 12. Those, if there's space in those, they will put the fiber optics in there. If there is not, they will upgrade the size of those, but it's not a significant upgrade in size. We're talking inches, not feet. But there are times when there's equipment in there that could potentially be retired, and therefore the associations would like those to be removed. Altice does not foresee that happening in Bedminster because they actually see requiring more space in those boxes. But just in case, the homeowners associations, and rightly so, want to make sure any retired equipment is removed if it's no longer in use. And Altice has agreed to do that.
So for those residents who have the access to upgrade to fiber,
Yes,
but choose not to,
yes,
they're not going to be, their service is not going to be interrupted.
correct. The legacy hybrid fiber coax network will continue to operate, and they continue to purchase service on that. There will come a time, I am certain, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, I don't know when it is, when they retire that network and go strictly over to fiber. But for right now, if you like your service, you can keep your service. If you want to go to fiber, they will run a new fiber line from that box directly into your home. So that's how it works. So again, I think most of these meetings will wrap up probably, or at least the introductory meetings will wrap up by the end of September. Hopefully we get a number more contracts signed and we'll start to see shovels in the ground, hopefully within the next month or so. What happens?
The next month or so?
They want to start work before winter sets in because it's a whole lot harder to dig once the ground freezes. So that is their intent.
That'd be very exciting to see that happen.
Fingers crossed, knock on wood. Just a quick update on JCP&L. I'm continuing to follow up on the underground wire maintenance issue that we discussed last time. This is not just a wood duck pond specific issue, but the greater issue throughout the hills. Our municipal liaison assures me that the issue has been escalated and the policy is currently under review, but anytime a large company says, it's our policy, I always get worried. But let's give them the benefit of the doubt. Let's see where they come out on this issue, and then we'll decide where to go from there, whether escalate it further or whatnot. I also continue to pursue the maintenance and inspection of JCP&L's equipment in the hills, most notably some of their aging transformers. Renee was just hinting at that before in terms of rusting old boxes. There are a number of deteriorating boxes, particularly in the Village Green section. And while duct tape solves many problems, this is not one of them, which I've reminded them. I've been told we should be getting an update on this issue in time for our next meeting, so more to follow. And that's all I have.
Quick question. This is not on Altice related fiber, but fiber upgrades for Western Bedminster, the Pottersville section, and going down certainly Black River Road, and then the roads that radiate off that. It does not appear that the poll that was put out there
Yes.
got a lot of responses.
It got more responses from the Hill section of Bedminster saying we want a choice in fiber providers. I think we have a handful, maybe a couple in Western Bedminster. So without folks raising their hand and saying, I want my MTD, I want my fiber, they can't really justify a fiber build out there unless somebody is willing to privately fund it. Which, you could get.
Is there anything else that we could do to attract, or was that just the wrong way to go?
No, it's not the wrong way to go.
By asking people to go online, there's a couple steps in that process.
Yeah.
It's getting to individuals. Are you happy with your service in Pottersville? You have to get them, and you have to get them to answer the question and answer the question in the right fashion. Right. So they have to go online. They got to click. Maybe that was not the right approach. I mean, it's just the fact that we know that they're not getting we have had complaints about the connectivity out there, and the fact that really one or two people were the only ones from Pottersville
Right.
who, responded.
Right.
We're just missing folks.
How about a representative at the farmer's market, at the township table?
Even then, you probably could do a DMDR, excuse me, direct mail to these folks, but that would be on the provider who wants to go out and see whether or not there's enough folks to justify a build. At the same time, you've got 5G wireless coming online. Within the next couple of years, there probably will be coverage out there, so folks could choose that as an option. Obviously, there's
Yeah,
satellite.
but they're only going to get 5G if there's actually
Fiber.
a baseline fiber.
Right, agreed. When you do these builds, I will be honest with you, having done them, you start with the most populated sections first, and you move on to the rural sections where you have less population. You hope that you can get funds either from the federal government or elsewhere to offset some of the costs, because it's expensive to run those lines out there where there's only a few homes. It comes down to the economics of the matter, honestly.
Rodney, how far away from Pottersville do you live?
1 mile
1 mile.
past the deli.
1 mile past the deli, going up the hill.
Yeah.
Do you know where the fiber service in Tewksbury terminates as you come down the hill?
Great.
Oh,
The mic's up there.
okay, sorry. Sorry for the impromptu inquisition.
I do not know where it is. That's-
But you have fiber at your house.
I was told I do.
What are you using, Rodney?
I have not confirmed that. For sure.
Okay, so
I will look into that.
you're going to go home, you have to do a speed test and report back to Colin.
You're not using dial-up, just tell me that.
No,
Okay.
trust me.
All right, so
I
you,
know there's no cell service. Not Verizon service.
So speaking of not having enough customers, I supplement my discussions with PSEG. Spoke with Mark Finataro this past week. He's the community relations czar, if you will. And explain the issue that we had, folks come out from the various neighborhoods, filled out forms. And the numbers that came back were just so exorbitant that, none of this was going to move forward. So he showed me a map, basically, explained that on Ski Hill Drive, there were only 5 folks that signed up for, interest, and where we were spread out on the road required to put in the full loop. So the $86,000 that we're seeing on this prospective bill is the cost to run the whole line.
so that's 86,000 for the whole line, not per household.
Well, right, but because only 5 houses signed up, we're all bearing the cost of all of that. and
So
then-
only those 5.
Right. And
So-
then you get 10 years worth of deposits, if you will, where other folks tap in over the next 10 years, you can get money back. And then after 10 years, you just basically pay for the cost to run the gas line. So I said, look, it's just not, it doesn't make sense that the customer pays the infrastructure. He says, I understand, but it's the tariff written by BPU. And the justification that was sort of given for it is that the BPU didn't want the gas companies to speculate for new customers, to just start rolling in and putting in piping where they don't have commitments, because essentially you've got your existing customers paying for new infrastructure that you don't even know if you're going to get your money back. So I understand that, and that they want to make sure that the only lines are going in where they're going to get their money back, but it really doesn't take into account the situation. You've got ready, willing, and
Right,
existing folks,
and for
but-
certainty, that there will be, those gaps will be filled in as people see the line coming in, and they're going to switch over. Because maybe their oil burner is working today,
but not tomorrow.
but not tomorrow. And those folks they're going to switch.
It is frustrating because essentially what I got out of it, you went through the revenue credit, you're still being given revenue credits, but the 5 folks that signed up, obviously with the anticipated usage of those 5 homes, is not going to pay for the line. And that's why this cash, deposit or payment is being required. So at the end of the day, we sort of come full circle to confirm what we knew, and that is you have to have mass people signing up for it so that the revenue credit back to the customer, meaning the communities or the residents, equals or exceeds the cost of the line. If that happens, you get the line for it.
Do you think that the folks in your neighborhood understood, or do you think there was still some reticence in signing up because they didn't want to get hit with that 86,000? So they played it close, saying, we'll let everyone else go first, and when the line's installed, we'll connect down the road.
Yes. I think.
Because I will tell you, once again, going door to door in prior campaigns, and knowing, a good number of folks on Ski Hill, there was, can you help us get gas service? So it just seems to me that those numbers are not truly reflective of people's intentions.
Well, I don't know, because on Deer Haven, every single person on our street filled out a form, and we just got our cost is like $350,000 for our road. So I don't know how they determined that number either. I'm not an engineer and I wouldn't know that, but it seems that the more people that signed up, for example, on Deer Haven, the entire street, every single person filled out an application. And our number was 3 times as much as Ski Hill, so I'm not sure how they determine those numbers, or.
You probably have greater density,
I guess.
and you probably have greater density. What did that come out to
They didn't send it per household.
They didn't do it per
letters
household?
Out, they never did, yeah, we never got those, but we did get like a total sum, it was like 300 and something thousand.
and was that just,
For the main, only for the line.
and is that Old Dutch and Deer Haven?
No, that was just Deer Haven. Old
That was-
Dutch had its own price, and Ski Hill, not Ski Hill, sorry. Old Stonehouse also had quite a few like residents, like most of the residents on that street also. And their cost was like extreme too. So it's almost like the more people you had fill out the application, the higher the cost was. It makes no sense.
It's bizarre.
Yeah.
It's revenue credit versus cost per run. Now, you do have that along Hill or the steep hill.
Yeah, we have to Ski Hill.
But I don't know whether that, I don't know. I don't know. whether it's
I don't know,
cost
I'm
per
not an
run
engineer,
line.
but I'm just saying, it just seems very odd that every single person on my street, every single family filled out one of those forms.
See, now I would take that info back to Mark, because then he can talk about revenue credits versus the cost. I mean,
Yeah.
Because I didn't really have much to come back with the line. He said, this is the cost. I got 5 random homes and
Yeah.
5 random stops. I mean, it couldn't be worse for my street because it's like 2 in the front. Like where the gas terminates with right after the road
Mhm.
sort of splits. Gas comes to that point. So the first person, but one of the 5 was the very next person, right? So it's a very minimal little run to get to them. And then you had 1 going up the street and then 2 or 3 back where I am. So you basically have to complete the whole loop just to get those 5 folks on board. So.
Did Mark give an indication of what it would take to do this? I mean,
Yeah.
I know they're saying, the BPU doesn't want them to speculate. I mean, is this really speculation? I mean, isn't this the whole, isn't PSE&G, there's a perception against natural gas, right? But you still have folks who want it, who are on oil and want to switch to this other utility. You would think that from a business perspective, if they don't expand, they're shrinking. And this is an opportunity to expand.
We can get into cost of gas, whether it's to make money or not, but what I got the sense of that from PSE&G's perspective, they're sort of, hey, our hands are tied. The EPU has told us how we go about expanding. We're good with it. Basically, they don't have to lay any pipe unless they know they're gonna make all their money back right off their needs, and then have switch forever. So the way I'm looking at this is like, it's not gonna happen because you got your residents that forget about willingness to convert over. Say you're willing, you still have $25,000 to $30,000 of conversion costs for your own equipment.
Yeah, upgrade.
Mhm.
Line to your
Exactly.
house. So you're basically saying, hey, neighbors, who's got an extra 20, 35,000 sitting around to roll into a project that we'd like to get up and running? Very few people are anxious to jump into that.
Well, and it
So
didn't even
it's-
get that far, unfortunately.
Right.
You know, it didn't even get that far because with the, you know, cost that they were providing us, it was unreasonable. And then you want people to upgrade their furnaces and it all has to be done within 3 to 6 months. Like, yeah, good luck getting, you know, plumbers out
Right.
there and
Right.
HVAC people to do that anyway. So it's just, it was very unreasonable, I think, the whole process, but nonetheless, we tried. We
Yeah.
Had a lot of interest, a lot of people, you know, unfortunately it didn't pan out.
I have sort of a similar.
Yeah, it's just interesting that PSCG used to be in the market of providing incentives for gas conversions. If you convert to gas, we're gonna rebate or provide you with the funds to help you convert. And
After I
now,
pay to run the line on my street, then they'll send out those ads to everybody else to get them to sign up, right? When they have lines that aren't being fully utilized, you probably see that. But to me, what I'm being told is we're not gonna give you the new line until we know we're paid. It seems so.
so we take PSCNG, well, we don't, do we take that element out of the utility? Old item. Are we done? Have
For
we,
the time being, I would, yeah, unless
so we've exhausted, so
there's some new information I can.
So Doug and Gina, so just, well, thank you all for picking this up and trying to improve your neighborhoods.
I'd like to say it was our pleasure, but kind of frustrating.
No, understood. Pluckman Park Housing.
Yes, so last time we were waiting for the report to come back. I have a skeleton of talking points. I think at this point, John, we probably should go back to Abe, set something up with him and just talk at like 30,000 feet what we're looking for. But maybe you and I can talk and then we can set that up for.
Maybe you have both reports, maybe you can email them to me. I haven't seen them yet.
Sure, I'll send you the info that I've got, and then we'll jump on the line and then we'll set something up with Abe. He's been paying me to, move forward, so I'll get that ball rolling this week.
Thank you.
Okay, with that concludes old business. We do have an executive session this evening. We will not be taking any formal action following the executive session. So what we'll do now is we'll go through Township Committee comments, adjourn to closed session, and then we'll return to open session to adjourn for the night. So let's go through Township Committee comments. Committeeman Stevenson.
Thank you, Mayor. Just wanted to say that, with the high schoolers going out today for the first time and tomorrow the Bedminster Township School starting out for the first time, I want to wish everybody a great school year. I want to thank our police officers for helping us out in the morning there. That's a big help. They may not realize it, but for the folks that are using the school and trying to get yourself to work, getting in and out of there is a big benefit. So thank you to all police officers for that. And thank you to our educators and good luck to the students.
Thank you. Committeeman Hickey.
Can't top that, Mayor. I have no comments. Thank you.
Committeewoman Moreski.
Nothing for me tonight, Mary. Thank you.
Our own teacher, Committeewoman Fernandez.
Yes, thank you. I actually wanted to comment on the tax bill that was created by our very own Ms. Ray and her assistant. I just thought that this was so informative. It was a really great little kind of newsletter just to get a little bit of information out to everybody. It goes out to all of our residents. It has distribution of the property taxes. It has a Bedminster alert system with a QR code. You just quickly scan it and sign up. The bulky waste information, farmers market information, Fall Fest information, stigma-free information, lock it or lose it, Bedminster police information, utility information, and stormwater information. I just thought that, wow, that was such a nice little thing. It was very informative that went out. So I just wanted to, I had it last time, but I was virtual. So I wanted to wait till we were in person, just to kind of go through it and just say kudos to Robin and everybody who worked on this. I think that was great that it went out and touched every single one of our residents. And yes, everybody have a great time, back to school. And that's it.
Great, thank you. I have nothing to add other than it's September. It's crazy, right? Time flies. With that, I'll take a motion to adjourn to executive closed session.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Bye.
Aye.
Okay, we'll go to, once again, we'll go to closed session when we will return to open session to adjourn for the night. So Ms. Ray, if you can stop the. Welcome back. It is 9:25. Township Committee has returned from our closed executive session. We have no further business for tonight. Take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye. Thank you and good night.
Thank you.